No music today as we start a brand new episode of Dylan Knows Out Like a Lamb, episode 289. It is a Sunday night, and I figured, I'll just jump right on in. Let's get started because Saturday got away from me, and I'll talk to you about the reason why Saturday got away from me a little bit. So I got a lot to cover this week. A ton of stuff came out this week. So I'm going to go bum real quick as I usually do. Not that a lot of people are watching because I lost another subscriber, but oh well. What am I going to do? But hello, this is an episode of Dylan Knows, and just like to say, hey, what's going on? Hope everybody's having a good, I'm sorry, excuse me, let me rephrase. I hope everybody had a good first quarter of the year. First quarter ends tonight. It is March 31st, 2019. First quarter ends, which means this week I get my quarterly bonus. Yes. This week is also date night with my wife. Yes. Going downtown. And it's also April Fool's Day, which is tomorrow. So, or today, if you're watching this today, tomorrow, or Monday, or whatever. So be careful for anything anybody is saying about stuff tomorrow or stuff you're going to be given and stuff like that tomorrow. It could all be just one big prank. So just be aware of that. And it's April. And you know what that means? The end of April, we got Avengers Endgame coming up. We've got Hellboy, the movie, coming up. We've got Shazam coming up this week. We got all kinds of stuff going on. Warm weather rolling through here. And baseball's in full swing. My Baltimore Orioles, who were in a rebuild year this year, now just took 2 of 3 from the New York Yankees, who everybody thought was going to be the best team in the AL and possibly make to the World Series. It still can with the, this is just the first series, and we play them again at home next weekend. But the fact of the matter is this team of Orioles that nobody knows anything about, a AAA team, basically, as some of the fans of New York were screaming at them. The Yankees have lost 2 games to them. The Yankees are 1-2. The Orioles are 2-1. The Orioles head up to Toronto for a 3-game set with the Blue Jays this week, and then they're back home for their home opener on Thursday. So what do I got going on this week? I got a lot of McDonald's stories. I got a lot of animals helping people stories. I've got It's a Small World stories. I've got badass geologists. I've got quite a tale about Tom Taylor in a log cabin. I got a tale about why Garfield phones had been washing up on the shores of France for 35 years. New flavors of ranch. Big anniversaries this week, particularly this day, today, some big anniversaries. Also, happy birthday to Batman, 80 years yesterday. Some Pokemon Go stuff. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are mixing some stuff up again. More shoes, more Easter stuff. All kinds of stuff. So let's get moving. I think there may even be a sex thing or two in here, so we'll see. Yes, there is the penis cleaner. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. First up, flood in Nebraska. We had floods last week. This story was last Sunday, so I'd already finished the show, and so this came up the day later. But the floods in Nebraska washed up a refrigerator full of beer to a family, and they imbibed on it because, hey, why not? It's a refrigerator full of beer. We don't know who it belongs to, so hey, let's chug it up and let's have some fun. As I said, I'm going to be going really fast today because I'm going to try to finish this by 11 o'clock tonight because I got to go to bed because it's a work night tomorrow for me. A while back, College Humor, which is a great website, by the way, they did a parody movie trailer about Dora the Explorer. And apparently somebody in Hollywood saw that and said, hey, you know what we should probably do? We should do a live action version of the Dora the Explorer cartoon for children. And sure enough, they did one. The Dora trailer appeared. It is basically a combination of Tomb Raider and Dora the Explorer, but there's not a lot of her trying to help people speak Spanish or wait for you to respond. It's more like an action-packed teen adventure. It's okay. Am I going to watch it? Hell no. But it might be interesting just for you to check it out for a nostalgia factor. If you had young kids who watched Dora, or if you have kids that watch Dora now, it'd be fun to see what they got cooking. As I mentioned before, yesterday, March 30th, was the original first printing of the first appearance of Batman way back in 1939. That was 80 years ago. And so they celebrated this week with the new comics last week with the arrival of Detective Comics 1000. Action Comics 1000 was a few months ago. Detective Comics 1000 came out this past week. I would do a comic haul to show it to you, but I'm not doing one this week, so you'll see it in the double wide haul sometime soon. I might not do it next weekend since I got a date weekend with my wife, so we'll see what happens. But Batman has always been interesting to me. I did not start reading Batman until after The Dark Knight Returns. Now, I didn't get The Dark Knight Returns in '86 when it came out originally in the comic book stores. But I did pick up on Batman 404, which is Frank Miller writing Batman Year One, and I started collecting Batman at that point. So I collected Batman for a really long time in that point, and then when I went through my phase where I stopped collecting comic books, I stopped collecting, which is a shame. I stopped at the Doug Munch, Kelly Jones era, and I haven't really seen any of those. I kind of wanted to see what they look like and see what they did. And then I hopped back on to Batman. Was one of the first comics I got back on when I came back into comics back in the late 90s. And then I had another span where I didn't collect comics for a while due to the arrival of children. And then I got back into comics again. And now I'm all about the comics. That actually is a good segue to another story, but I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, it was Batman has gone through a lot of iterations. There still has not been a live action Batman movie that has done him justice. Of them all, they all have things I liked about them. I liked the Michael Keaton Batman. I liked the Jack Nicholson Joker. I liked the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman. I did not like the Danny DeVito half penguin-esque type creature. I wish they would have just made Danny DeVito a regular penguin. Not like the regular penguin, which is just a regular guy who ran nightclubs and stuff like that. Wasn't some sort of freak. Jim Carrey was too crazy, was Joker light for the Riddler. He was definitely not a good Riddler. Tommy Lee Jones was all right as Two-Face. I think he was a little bit too gruff, and I think you need to have a better one, which we did get a better Two-Face down the line. Val Kilmer had the intensity, but not the humor or the love that you could see about that. I thought Chris O'Donnell was a good Nightwing, but not a good Robin. Don't even get me started about Batman and Robin. That was terrible. I thought George Clooney did a okay job, but he was hamstrung with a terrible script, terrible direction, and terrible actors. Now, I thought Uma Thurman was a good Poison Ivy, and I thought they could have done something good with it, but the movie itself was just a shit show. Then they had the Chris Nolan Batman stuff, which Nolan was trying to do more of a realistic Batman thing, and Bale was okay as Bruce Wayne and Batman. I don't think it was definitive. Heath Ledger, again, did a fantastic job as the Joker, deserved to get the Oscar, which he did, but I don't know if he's the definitive Joker. I liked his Joker a lot. I liked the Two-Face. I forget the actor who played him, though. The Two-Face, they did a really good job with the Two-Face in that one, so he was sort of relegated to a secondary arc going on. I wish they could have focused a little bit more on him later on, but not so much. I thought Anne Hathaway did an admirable job as Catwoman, not as good as Michelle Pfeiffer, but I thought she did an okay job. And Tom Hardy as Bane was awful. I thought Liam Neeson's Ra's al Ghul was pretty good. So it had its moments, but there were some issues I had with that one as well. And then don't get me started the Affleck Batman. I did not like the Affleck Batman at all. I did not like the Jared Leto Joker at all. Margot Robbie's Harley's okay, I guess. But yeah, just and here we are. So we'll see. The animated Batman version that Paul Dini and I can't think of the other guy's name, did for the series, the animated series in the early 90s, is still to me the definitive Batman. I think that's the perfect Batman, but again, that's animated. They have not had a definitive Batman in live action yet, but it doesn't matter because the comics are interesting. I'm enjoying Tom King's run on Batman right now. It's pretty good, actually, and Peter Tomasi's writing Detective, so I'm happy about that because I like him as well. So we got some stuff coming up. So Viva Las Batman, and happy 80th birthday, man. So this kind of segue into something that sort of came together for me on Friday, this past Friday. And this is probably going to come to a shock to a lot of people, but let me give you some background. So y'all know that I've been interested in trying to get up a coffee shop here in Reisterstown. And it's moving along slowly, but it's my willingness to do any real research and my panic and anxiety that I'm going to be bankrupt and all that stuff is making it hard for me to go, I really need to jump on this. But something hit. It hit a while back, and I thought about it briefly, but I didn't really think about it. But then this past Friday, it was Thursday, I really got into it. I started thinking about it intensely, this new possible option rolled through. As I said, had seen it earlier, but didn't think much about it. And then I saw it again. I was like, let me think about this a little bit. A little history. I've been a comic book fan forever, and you all know that who've been watching the show. Sometime in the mid-'80s when I was in high school, I was lucky enough to get a part-time job at a comic book store out in Timonium called, Cockeysville, I should say, out in Cockeysville called Alternate Worlds. It's owned by a guy named Mike, and at that time, his wife, Maggie. I came in. I asked if I could work. They know me. I'd been there a few times. They said, sure, we needed someone to help around the place. It was a part-time job. I would work on weekends, and I would work on like vacation or holidays or vacation or stuff like that. So it was all good and great, and I worked there for about a year. The problem was Mike and Maggie had a daughter named, I want to say Jude, because it was named after a Beatle song. And they started bringing her in more and calling me less to work. And then one day they just stopped calling me. I was like, interesting. So it took me a couple weeks, and then I never heard from them again. So I just assumed, I guess, that they let me go, but they didn't actually physically say, we're sorry, we're not going to have you work anymore. And I'm assuming they got their daughter to come work for them. No hard feelings. That was fine. As I said, it was only like a part-time job, 1 day, 2 days a week on the weekends. And oh, well. And I remember, I guess I had found another comic book store. So I stopped going out to that one, I guess. I don't know. Then they moved they were in an old house on York Road, and they moved to the shopping center, Cranbrook Shopping Center, which was right down the road from where their store was. And they were there for a really, really long time. Now, I went back there a few times periodically to check it out, and I think I had a subscription there for a while when Dawn and I lived up there. But then, once again, I started getting lax on paying, buying. Actually, it was before Dawn, I think, buying the comics. So there was a period where they had probably about a month's worth of comics I never picked up, and they kicked me out of, they're right. When you don't come in, you don't pay for your comics, that's wasted inventory. And they dropped me as a account, which was fine. And again, I think I found more local stuff in Towson anyway. So I was like, I'm not going to go all the way out to Cockeysville to go to the comic book store unless I really needed to. So, periodically I might swing by if my comic book store didn't have anything, and just to check it out. And at that time, I learned that Mike and Maggie, I guess, got divorced, and Mike married a Swedish woman, I think. I can't remember. Inga, I think was her name was, or German woman or something like that. And I saw her at the store all the time when I worked there. And not worked there, when I went there to buy comics and stuff. But when we moved out that way, it was my local comic store. So I guess I went there more often, I suppose. I'm trying to remember. Maybe not, because at that time I started working at Towson Town Center, and Towson still had the comic book store right there. So I would still go to get comics from the comic store there because I was working there. So why go down there? But if I needed to, it was within walking distance or whatever, I could get there. I didn't really think much about it. And then I got to work at Diamond, and then I didn't really need to go to the comic book store because I got everything I needed to work in at Diamond. And occasionally I would go into Alternate Worlds and pick up something since it was right there where I worked at Diamond. So fast forward a few years ago, discovered that they moved into a new shop. They needed to expand a little bit because their mall or their strip mall shop was getting a little bit too small for them, particularly their gaming area, because they were having gaming stuff in there all the time. And so they bought a old antique store that was for sale a little bit further up the road, closer to Hunt Valley, and refurbished that to their new comic book store. Now, I've been in there a few times. It was pretty cool. I don't like the parking, but and it's really hard to find when you're driving along York Road and looking for it. Anyway, about a week or so, probably been a couple weeks ago, I follow them on Facebook. Just why not? I used to go to them. I used to work for them. Why not? And Mike posted something about how it was time for him to retire and he was going to sell the store. But he's going to take his time and get the right person to it. At that time, I didn't think much about it. And I just pushed on myself, okay, that's interesting. But then this past Thursday, I saw the ad again on Facebook. And I was like, let me think about this a little bit. And I started thinking about it as like, I could buy a comic book store. So I started thinking about it, and I started talking to my friend Gary and to Dawn, my wife, and they thought it was kind of an interesting idea for me because I've always been a comic book fan, and to own a comic book store would be amazing. And so I said, okay, what I'm going to do is let me just find out what's going on. So since I follow them on Facebook, I sent Mike a private message, PM. Saying, hi, my name is Dylan Lang. I used to work for you in the 1980s, and I used to go to be a customer at your store, and then I worked at Diamond and so on and so forth. I saw you're selling the store, and I was interested in possibly procuring it, making some money to maybe possibly buy it. Can you, give me a links or whatever to whatever it costs like that? And Mike responded almost immediately. It was like 10, 15 minutes later, he's like, yeah, I remember you. Here's the link to the sale piece. And I go in there. And again, he's like saying he's not in any hurry to sell it. He wants to find the right person to sell it. So take our time. And so I open up the link. And the first thing I see is the asking price. The asking price that Mike wants for Alternate Worlds. $170,000. That's less than this house that Dawn and I, we co-own, obviously. But I was like, $170,000. That's nothing, really, in the scheme of things. Because if I was going to open my coffee shop, I would have to start from the ground up. I'd have to either find a place that was already built, or I'd have to build it from the ground up. I'd have to buy all the supplies, get the supply chain in. I got to order it. It would take a really long time and a lot of money, probably $500,000 to $1 million to get this off the ground. Now, I could get it from various ways, probably, but it's going to be really hard to recoup it. So I was like, okay, that's really interesting. And I started looking down, and then there was some other stuff in there, cash flow and some other things as well. And then he said their gross revenue was $419,000. And I was like, whoa, that's not bad. And the rent's a little high. It's about $5,000 a month, but doable, obviously. So I started getting excited, and then I started thinking about it even more, and I was like, everything's going to be already there. Basically, the only thing that's going on is someone else is going to own the store. The store is still going to be there. It isn't going anywhere. It's not moving. They have a lease through 2025. He has the supply chain already set up with Diamond. They already have their, account with Diamond. It's already set up that way. It has 2 employees who've worked there for a long time. They have a clientele that already comes in regularly. They have all the shelving done. All the inventory is there. All the computer stuff is done. Everything is there. Water, electricity. He's got it all set up. All it would be was that someone else would have to come in and run it. And he even gave options on how to increase cash flow. Ideas that I had thought about, and ideas like, that's actually a pretty good idea. So I started really getting excited about, because I would, if I could get the money together from a small business loan or whatever, and he actually picked me to buy it, I would just have to give him the money, and basically that would be all I have to do, really. And plus, Mike said he would be on for 90 days to help train whoever takes over how to do everything properly, and if they have any questions. So again, a brilliant idea. It's in Cockeysville, Hunt Valley. Actually, I would say it's closer to Hunt Valley than it is Cockeysville at this point now, which is near where my dad lives and near where Dawn works. I love Hunt Valley. I've lived in Cockeysville with Dawn for about 3 years when we first got together. I worked at Diamond, which was in Timonium, which was in that general area, and I like going back to Hunt Valley. We go back to Hunt Valley Town Center all the time. We go to Oregon Ridge over there, and it's nice. It's really beautiful. The light rail ends up there, and they have a really nice Walmart. Even though I'm not a big Walmart guy, and even Diamond moved out of Timonium and actually moved closer up to Cockeysville also, so it'd be even closer to where the store was now, the actual Diamond place. So if I had any really issues, I'd just go down the road 5 minutes, and I could go to Diamond and say, hey, what's going on with this? Obviously, talk on the phone, but and the hours, are pretty interesting. So I wouldn't have to drive on the highway anymore. I could take the back roads. There's a number of different back roads I could get to where this place is. And I know the area because I lived in the area. I know the area. And the hours would be an adjustment, but they don't start work till 11 on some days, 12 on others, and sometimes goes to 9 o'clock. I would have my morning free for the most part. Obviously, if I did own it, I would probably be at the store like at 8 a.m. and probably doing stuff till the store opened. But, I might like doing that. And then at the same time, I have 2 employees who've been there forever. I could always hire another assistant manager or employee, depending on cash flow and stuff like that, and see where things are. And so like I say, I got really, really excited about it. So this is to be continued, but this is something I'm seriously considering. Because really there would be nothing I would really have to do. Pay for the store. Mike would sign sign the lease over to me, and I would be the owner of Alternate Worlds, the guy who would make the decisions on what we need to do. And Mike would be there to help for 90 days and would pop in periodically. He's not going to disappear. This is his baby, but he's like, I want to retire. I'm getting tired. I've made enough money, and I feel like I just want to relax, travel, do whatever. I'm tired of the stress, and he wants someone younger. Hey, I'm 45, I'm at least 20 plus years younger than he is. And I have my own ideas. I would definitely open up the social awareness, Twitter, Facebook, videos. I would try to get a big sign that would draw attention when you're driving down the road to see it. And there are other options too. But the real thing that gets me is that I wouldn't have to do anything. Unlike with a coffee shop, I'd have to do everything. The comic store, I just go in there and it's there. Verify the orders, learn how to order. I mean, I know how to order. Basically, I worked at Diamond. I know how it works. So, to be continued. I'll let you know what's going on with that. And, if things work out, maybe I'll be filming these from that store. Well, no, who knows? So the reason why I'm doing it today, my Dylan knows today on a Sunday Sunday night instead of Saturday night, is Pokemon Go. What else would it be but Pokemon Go? Last weekend was Community Day. This weekend was Lotad Day. But the funny thing about that is Lotad Day quickly became Shiny Castform Day. I've talked about this the last couple months. Beginning in January, Pokemon Go started this Pokestop thing to go along with Community Day. And I've told you about it where the Pokestops at the time in January, when they first started this, for like the 3-hour window like they have for Community Day, would all be research tasks in order to get a specific Pokemon. So you'd have to do specific things, and there was a list of them. So all the Pokestops had to choose from 10 to 15 different tasks you had to do, tasks that could be done quickly in order to get an encounter with, in this case, it was Feebas, which was a fish, and it could get a shiny Feebas. So we did that in January. And then February, they made it Clamperl, which was a new Pokemon that they'd never introduced before until that point. So they did that again for another 3-hour stretch. Well, this month they decided they were going to try something different. And honestly, I really like this idea better. I think Community Day should stay the 3-hour window. But if you're going to do another one of these Pokestop things, which I hope you do because they're actually quite entertaining, do it how you did it yesterday. From 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., which is actually, believe it or not, my shift at Diamond for the longest time. 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., this event was going on. It was the Lotad event, which means you would spin the wheel and there would be research tasks you had to do to possibly get a shiny Lotad or just get a Lotad in general. But while you were doing your tasks, another Pokemon by the name of Castform, this little ghost-looking creature, was going to be out and about also. And he was going to have a shiny form also, much like the Lotad was as well. So Dawn and I, the good news is like it would be going on from 11 to 8. So we had we went out at 11 and we did it for about 11 to about 12 o'clock for about an hour. And then Dawn had to go and take Noah to Cub Scouts. They were doing a bridging ceremony to move everybody up to their next rank. And then I was going to take Noelle over because she's now in Scouts also. It would be good to have her there to experience it and encourage them and stuff like that. And me, because I'm the dad of Noah, even though Dawn was already there. So we went over about 12:45 and the event went from about 1 to about 2:30-ish. So from that period of time, we didn't do any Pokemon stuff. And then once we got back home and the kids changed and everything was taken care of, Dawn and I went back out and about 3:30-ish, whatever. And we stayed out till about 7 and we did our Lotad stuff. And then we got Chinese food. And then by the time we ate dinner and had dessert and got upstairs and had shower and baths, it was already like 10 o'clock at night. And I was already tired from doing all that walking with the Lotad day, so I didn't do my show last night. So we're doing that. So we did that. So that was kind of fun. But the funny thing was, as I said, Dawn and I, we probably did about 50 Pokestops. And both Dawn and I only got 2 shiny Lotads out of all of them. Meanwhile, the Castforms that were out and about that we were catching, Dawn got 8 or 9 shiny Castforms, and I got 16, which is the most shinies I've ever gotten in my life. So obviously, the big deal was it was Lotad day, but that shiny Castform was the one that everybody seemed to be hitting. I mean, people were saying they were getting 19, 20s, 16, 15, 10 of them. So it was crazy. Got lots of stuff going on with Pokemon Go. New Giratina raid boss comes out on Tuesday. The bug event comes out, which is not very exciting. The bugs are not really great. There could be, again, some shinies. We'll see what happens. And for April Fool's Day tomorrow, Ash Ketchum and Ash Pikachu will be popping up in your Go pictures, which is something that only Smeargle was doing now, where you would take pictures of your Pokemon in real-world settings. And if you did a bunch of them, Smeargle, which was a Pokemon, would photobomb it. But now for April Fool's Day, they're going to do Pikachu in an Ash hat and Ash Ketchum. I'll do that. And if you see them, you'll be able to catch a Ash Ketchum Pokemon. So we'll see what happens. Getting back to comics real quick. Mark Alessi passed away this week. Mark Alessi was the founder of CrossGen, which when I was working at Diamond, CrossGen was huge. CrossGen was probably on the verge of, if they would have kept going and they would have, didn't have the issues that they had, they probably very well could have become one of the big accounts like DC, Marvel, Image, Dark Horse, IDW, Boom, Dynamite, all are now. They probably could have become one of those. CrossGen was a very interesting idea. Basically, Alessi wanted to get back to the old school way of doing things. Nowadays comic books are freelance, so you can work from home. You digitally send stuff over the internet or fax it or whatever, and it all gets worked out that way. The writers and artists share things. That's why some of the artists are from overseas and stuff like that. And you don't really meet them face to face. You just see their work and so on and so forth. That's how they make comics. But the old school way they used to do it was Alessi wanted to create the old school way, which was create like a bullpen. So he headquartered CrossGen in Florida, and he interviewed a whole bunch of comic book artists and writers who were interested possibly in creating characters, but they would be owned by CrossGen, not owned by the creators. But the creators would be able to do basically really whatever they wanted to. They were given really carte blanche. The only problem was CrossGen owned the characters. So I don't know if there was maybe some internal strife where they had to do what CrossGen wanted them to do with the characters. I don't know. But I also know they were trying to get them, TV and movie and animation deals as well. So Ron Mars and Barbara Kesel, and I'm trying to remember some of the other big names. I think Paul Jenkins was in there. There was a black writer. I can't think. He did Route 666 and other stuff as well. And, some artists like Greg Land and Joshua Middleton and what's the guy? Steve McNiven, Bart Sears. So there's a whole bunch of like early 2000 popular writers and artists who, I think Mark Waid was involved with it too, and Butch Geist. They were doing Ruse and some other stuff as well, who were invited down to do this, and they want to do it. So they all moved to Florida, and it was like a 9-to-5 job. They would go into the CrossGen studios, and the writer and artist would work together, pitching ideas, and the artists would draw and stuff like that, and they would work together, face to face. They'd be with each other face to face, be able to throw ideas off each other, and then to make sure that the comics stayed on a consistent schedule, were out every week when they were supposed to. Like this comic always came out the first week of the year, first week of the month. This one the second, the third, so forth. They would have because some of the artists, like a Greg Land or whatever, might take some time to do his art, Steve McNiven, stuff like that. So you need to have some fill-in artists. So they hired some, backups to come in. And so, Steve McNiven or Greg Land would have like a 2 or 3 episode head start. So they would do that for about 3 months, but then things were slowing down a little bit and they were having trouble catching up with their 4th one. So in order for them, they fell behind a little bit. In order for them to stay on tap, they hired a backup to come in and draw the next issue, issue 4, so that then they could work on the 5th and 6th one and so on and so forth. So they had a really good schedule where they worked it out. Tony Bedard, that's the other guy. They had the schedule worked out where they had it planned so that they would not lose any time. And, the artists and writers would, work together and make sure the book came out on time every time. And that was also one of the benefits of having them all in the same house together. Now, there's a whole lot of other stuff going on with CrossGen. There's whole big articles and stories about how horrible it was and why it eventually fell apart. But everyone seems to be reasonably upset and down about the fact that he passed away, which is good, because you don't want to be happy someone died. Man demands, this is the first of a couple McDonald's stories. I'm just going to go in order, so I'm not going to do really any jumping around. Man demands $140,000 from McDonald's after he finds a live mouse in his milkshake. Now, I don't know if the man put the mouse there intentionally to try to make money, to sue McDonald's on this way, or if somehow McDonald's got a mouse into a milkshake. It doesn't make any sense anyway. It's still a disgusting story. So, check your milkshakes from McDonald's. Fashion experts, I like this because I hate blue jeans. Fashion experts say you should stop wearing blue jeans at the age of 53 because they don't look good on older people. Now, there's going to be the jean wearer people are going to be all over that saying, you're a bunch of hooey, whatever. What do fashion people know? Jeans are comfortable, and jeans can look good on 50 and 60-year-old people and stuff like that. To me, I don't care because I don't wear jeans. I don't like jeans. I never have liked jeans. I've worn them a couple times because I had to, but I'm not going to do it against my will. I have no desire for it. For whatever reason, it's either the denim I don't like, or the feel of it. I don't know. I'm not a jeans wearer, and you know what? I'm perfectly okay with people stop wearing jeans at the age of 53, but not going to happen. This is a little weird. This is a couple of weird stories about women giving birth this week. This one is the weirdest of all. Women has a baby. Then 26 days later, she gives birth to twins. Now, how is that possible? Well, this woman is from Zimbabwe or something like that, a foreign country. But I mean, that doesn't mean anything. That's just where it is. But apparently there is an actual scientific proof behind it, or whatever, that this could happen. This woman had a disease or a deformity or whatever, where she was born with 2 uteruses. Now, I don't think she knew about that, because I don't think she knew she was pregnant. I mean, she knew she was pregnant with her one baby, but the other ones she didn't really know about. And I don't know how that works, because I'm not the woman. But obviously she didn't know about it, because she was complaining about abdominal pain about, a few weeks after she gave birth to her child, thinking that it might have something to do with the afterbirth. And the doctor said, "Oh no, you're pregnant with twins." I guess it's from the same father, but that's just kind of interesting. But there was a woman who had 2 uteruses, so interesting. There's another story down the line which is kind of weird, that also is about babies, but I'll get to that in a little bit. I just need to get down, because I'm already about. I only got about an hour left, because I really want to go to bed by 11 tonight. I don't want to wait till 11:30. Chocolate is better for you than cough syrup for curing your hacking cough. I might have talked about that one before, but I guess next time you have a hacking cough, instead of taking cough syrup, take a candy bar, eat a candy bar, something chocolatey. I don't know, maybe just get a Hershey bar, which is pure chocolate, and see what happens. It just says chocolate is better, so I don't know if you can eat like chocolate with caramel or chocolate with nougat. I don't know, but it just says chocolate's better. So check it out next time you have a hacking cough. Red-headed badass geologist woman got revenge on her asshole neighbors. Apparently she'd been having a kind of a mini feud with her neighbors, because they were the type of people who have friends and parties over late at night, and they always park their cars in front of her car, so she cannot get out early in the morning when they're still hungover and stuff like that. So she's complained about them a few times like that. But, again, neighbors are assholes, which I can talk a whole lot about my neighbors, but we're not going to about that. Anyway, one night they had enough, and they were kind of drunk anyway, so they thought they would fix her. So they moved a giant stone in front of her car, so she couldn't get out. Say, "Ha ha, you complained about that. We'll try this. Ha ha, you silly bitch." Well, the woman came out in the morning and was like, "What the hell?" And she's like, "They're messing with the wrong person," because she was a geologist. She knew exactly what type of rock it was, sandstone. She said, "I got the perfect tools," because she works with tools all the time. So she went back to her house at 7 a.m. in the morning, after they'd been all drinking the night before and probably were sleeping in or were hungover or whatever, had bad headaches. She went outside and used her specific geological tools, drills and stuff like that, to shatter the sandstone, and brushed it into her neighbor's yard so she could go into work. At 7 a.m., when they were still trying to recover from hangovers or drunk, whatever, they had to deal with these loud construction noises, basically, because this woman was basically drilling this rock to bits, and it was loud, and she got her revenge on them. And now they appear to have got the message, like, don't want to mess with this woman. She's a badass. This is also the first of many interesting animal stories. Lost dog returns home, but he's not alone. The lost dog returned to the home with a goat and a new dog friend. So while he was lost and he found his way back home, he encountered a goat and another dog, and they decided to befriend him and help him back to his house and keep him safe. again, the first of many stories where you're going to hear about this today. It's really quite interesting. It's really interesting to see animals, working together like this. And I've been telling articles about this over the last few months, that animals are starting to work together and realize things are, figuring out how to do certain things. So this might be a sign that we need to keep an eye on, make sure that our animals don't rise up against us. My wife doesn't like when I don't shave. She doesn't like the roughness, coarseness of this. I don't shave every day. I try to shave every other day, so I have to shave tomorrow because this is about a 5 o'clock shadow got in here. But she doesn't like beards. And this might be the reason why. Scientists say that bearded men look angrier than clean-shaven men, which I suppose you could say that. See, I don't look too angry, right? Like that. But if I had a beard, it might be a different story. So, there's probably something to that, but I don't see what the point is. Who cares? If they are, you are. But, if you go on Twitter, it seems like all the thirsty chicks on Twitter, they want to feel beards down in their private area down there, going down on them, and they love men with beards. Well, my wife isn't like everybody else, I guess. Mark Hamill has been making a career for himself lately after Luke Skywalker. He's been doing a bunch of things. He's been also most well known for doing the voiceover work of the Joker in the aforementioned Batman the Animated Series. But now we learned yesterday that Mark Hamill will be voicing the voice of Chucky the doll in the Child's Play update. So he will be the voice of the homicidal Chucky doll. So that's intriguing in and of itself. We'll see how Mark Hamill does that. Should be interesting. So we're entering into April now. And that means that April 25th, 26th, whatever that date is coming fast. And that is the date of Avengers Endgame, which is the final Avenger story, basically, of this phase, which is going to see the last of many of the most popular actors in the series. In their last versions of doing these roles, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo are all saying that they're done after this. So Marvel's got to plan. As I said last week, the Fox bid is now done and over with. Disney owns all those characters, so they're going to start working on getting them out into us, and that probably be 2021. We'll probably start seeing more Wolverine, Fantastic Four, and so on and so forth stuff. So that's pretty good. So you got to start thinking about what's coming next. So you've got sequels, obviously. You're going to have Black Panther 2. You're going to have Captain Marvel 2. You're going to have Doctor Strange 2. You're going to have Guardians of the Galaxy 3 now that James Gunn is back on board. So you got all those. And then, of course, those ones are going to do well. And so they're probably going to go on and they'll do a third one for all those. Black Widow is going to be getting her own series as well. They're casting that right now, and they're going to start filming it probably later this year to hopefully come out next year, I think, is the plan. So we got that coming up, and we got other things going on. But the one other thing that they mentioned is a kind of a minor comic series, to be honest. Not a lot of people know about it, is the Eternals. Now, I remember there was a 12-issue miniseries that I collected that I think Peter B. Gillis wrote back in the 80s. And the Eternals have a really close connection to, like, the Greek gods. And so they decided, Kevin Feige decided that this could be our new version of the Avengers, since the Avengers aren't really going to be the same after this. So we need another big team book and team series, I should say, team film. So why don't we create this one that not a lot of people know, because they've done so well with Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man, and Ant-Man's going to get a third movie as well. And Doctor Strange, all these minor characters, they've doing really well. So hey, why don't we do something like this? So they reached out to Angelina Jolie and are asking if she would like to play. We're speculating the role of Cersei, which is an Eternal, which is probably a lead role for the Eternals. So Angelina Jolie is thinking about that right now. And also they've announced that Hercules will be on there. Also, Hercules is, yes, the god Hercules that we know, but he is a comic book character. He's been on the Avengers. There was Bob Layton did a wonderful future Hercules storyline with Machine Man and fantastic artwork and a great storyline. And Hercules took over for the Hulk after a while. Greg Pak was writing that, the Incredible Hercules. So there was, Hercules is not as well known as some others, but it's another good character to introduce, and they're going to introduce him in the Eternals, and apparently they're going to make him gay, which is interesting because Hercules really isn't. He's a womanizer, but in the end, it doesn't matter. So it should be interesting. So that could be the next big one. That probably, I think, if all goes according to plan, that might not be till 2021. But if they're talking about it now, maybe they're going to start doing it quicker. Maybe they'll get it at the end of 2020. So. Because everyone's pretty much speculating that I think Black Widow is probably going to get the Prime slot. Probably they're going to go back to the first weekend of May. I don't think they're going to go to the end of April again. That was just for the Avengers. So I think she will get the Prime first weekend of May slot right before Free Comic Book Day, which is also about a month away also. So good on that. All kinds of comic stuff going on today. Domino's makes a hot dog pizza. It looks like a pizza. It has chopped up hot dogs, maybe some mustard sauce on it as well, some ketchup, other stuff like that. I don't know if I'd want to try that, particularly with mustard on it, because I'm not a big mustard fan. But hey, hot dog pizza, it's a thing now. So is pizza on a pineapple. Someone actually posted a picture of pineapple with a pizza on it because, I've had pineapple on a pizza, and I like it a lot. But, a lot of people don't. But in this case, this was a really funny picture I saw on Facebook where they had a pineapple and they put the pizza on it. So you could eat it that way. So instead of a crust, it was a pineapple. So that's kind of funny and cute. I probably have that in here somewhere. I'll find it eventually. Again, I was like, I already talked about that. Boom. Here's another proof that animals are working together, or are being nice to each other at least. An abandoned puppy, which I always hate when animals are abandoned anywhere, but this abandoned puppy was freezing out in the bitter cold that we just had recently this winter, when a goose saw this, came up to the freezing puppy and wrapped it in its wings. Down goose feathers are really, really warm. I mean, your comforters and stuff like that are made out of down goose feathers, and they're really, really warm. So this goose saw this dog in pain and freezing and came to take care of him. So it's kind of nice to see that, that animals have compassion more so than a lot of people do around here, which is disappointing, but what can you do? Just to sort of connect with animals real quick, and then I'll go back to that story. People who talk to pets are smarter than those that don't. I talk to my cat all the time, so I must be hugely smart. But again, that's a study says that if you talk to your pet, you are much smarter than those who don't. I don't quite understand why, again, but hey, if it makes me feel smarter, why not? I is smart. I just talked about denim pants and how fashion experts are saying, nah, you don't need to wear them after the age of 53. This just looks bad. Panties can be sexy, particularly on a sexy woman. They're cut right, the style, the lacing, or enough see-through that you can see the promised land. However, they have now created the Janty, which is a denim panty short. They're not calling it a panty, but it's a panty-like denim short, but it looks like a panty made of denim. And that's just dumb. It's really just a short, but I mean, it's basically like you're wearing a panty, but made of denim. And that's not sexy at all. It's actually repulsive, really, to be honest. lace and silk and stuff like that. That's sexy, not denim panties. Ugh. And I don't even know if they're supposed to be worn like panties. They're just a really, really short denim short. So, oh well. Samsung's new fridge will ping your cell phone if the door isn't closed. Actually, someone responded to this saying, it was so smart, why didn't it just close the door itself? But again, this is starting to become a crutch for everybody. You see people all the time. Hell, I'll be the first person to admit it. I'm on the phone a lot too in the evening and stuff like that. But everything seems to be now connected with your phone, because this is like, now for a lot of people, this is your life. Everything you need is in here. You can do your banking. You can now check on your house when you're at work. You can start your car. You can turn on your lights. You can pay bills. You can take money out. You can print stuff. You can take pictures. You can play games. You can draw. You can write. You can do whatever on your phone. So why not have it where you have a new fridge and it's connected to your phone, and if you don't close the door all the way, it'll say ding on your phone, hey, you need to close your door, because you're on your phone anyway. So it's bad. Look, as I said, I'm on the technology. I'm not on it as much as a lot of other people, but I'm on it all the time. I'm just saying, what if someone finds a way to disrupt the electrical systems and the phones don't work? We're all pretty much screwed, aren't we? If you're on the fence about having a child, think about this. Well, I shouldn't say that, because this was done, and I can't even say it's bad parents. Just sometimes kids do things they're not supposed to. Sometimes they're out of control. In this case, a child destroys $1,000 worth of makeup at Sephora, which is a really nice makeup place. This child came and was just like, rah, rah, and it destroyed, I guess, because, you go to these places and they have them so you could, try them out before you buy it and stuff like that. And so this child just destroyed all this makeup. So as I said, I've never had one of my kids do that when they were younger, because I always had a tight grip on them. But sometimes there are just parents are just neglectful and don't care, or others that were just overwhelmed. They didn't know what was going on. So I don't know. But something like that is letting your kid go out. You obviously weren't paying attention, because if you were, you would have seen your kid messing around with makeup. You're like, whoa, wait a second, you can't be doing that. And you would stop them right then and there, but you didn't. I don't know what CRISPR is, but researchers use CRISPR, I don't know exactly what that is, to store a movie in living bacteria. And that doesn't make any sense to me. So why would you want to store a movie in living bacteria? I mean, is it a way to maybe a new way to bring about spying stuff? I mean, if you have a top secret or whatever, you can put it in this living bacteria and keep it hidden, until people discover the bacteria and play it back. I don't know. It just seemed like an interesting idea, so I figured I'd mention it. So there we go. I like ghosts. I've told you before. I think we have a ghost cat. I haven't seen ghost cat in a while. I mentioned ghost cat last week because we talked about ghost horses last week. Well, this week we got another ghost story. Lemp Mansion, which is part of the Lemp town somewhere in Alabama, I think. A bunch of ghost hunters, not the ones that are on TV, just regular. There's a whole bunch of different ghost groups and crews out there. They were doing, a typical lockdown or whatever you want to call it, and they were taking pictures and stuff like that. Well, they developed one picture in this Lemp Mansion that was supposed to be haunted, and they discovered something that they actually believe that they had caught. I'm not going to be able to find it and show it to you because it's really kind of fuzzy. Caught the ghost of a lady in white. Now, they posted the picture in Facebook. I just got chills. Just talking about ghosts, my arms are all bumpy right now. they just a picture of a ghost in white, and they posted the picture on Facebook, and I clicked on it, and you expand it like that, and there was something up there in the corner. It didn't look like it was furniture or drapes or something like that. It looked like it was a person standing there. Now it's not. It was, as I said, it's all kind of a little pixelated a little bit, but it's actually not a bad picture if it is indeed a ghost. Let me just see if I can find it. I'm also just getting that Duke lost also is not in the final four. But that's besides the point. Let's see if I can find Lemp Mansion Ghost. Lemp Mansion. There it is. I don't know if you can tell. It's right up there. Now, it could very well be right there. It very well could be maybe a somebody dressed in garb, maybe. But just looking at it right now just gives me willies, and it's a really cool picture, and and it's kind of it's good to see that there is actual good proof out there that ghosts may exist. Now, obviously, yes, it could be fake because everybody's cynical nowadays and people fake stuff all the time. But to me, it looks pretty realistic if it isn't some sort of LARPer or whatever wearing the outfit and just say, hey, I'm up here and get my picture taken. Man, I still got the chills. How about this, everybody? In 5 years, science is going to create synthetic alcohol that will not give you hangovers, but will taste just like alcohol and give you, I guess, the same, I don't know if I want to say benefits of alcohol, but the same feelings as if you drank alcohol. But it's going to be synthetic, and it's not going to give you hangovers, and it's not going to cause you to be dehydrated, I guess, because that's the main reason behind it. So, hey, 5 years from now, you can be drinking all the alcohol you want, and there's going to be no hangovers. Hooray! This kind of creepy. I'm got a couple creepy stories here after the ghost story, and then I mixed it up with the alcohol story. But here's a couple of creepy stories for you. This one is just awful. There's a cannibal who killed a couple. And he ate the husband's face. Now, when he was caught, the reason why he ate the face is because he claims that he's part man and part dog. And this wasn't the first time where he's shown this affliction of being part dog, as it were. People have talked about stuff that he's done before in the past. And again, when you get to like these kind of psychotic people, they always seem to have some sort of mental problem. And I'm not saying that all people who have mental problems are going to become serial killers or cannibal killers or killers in general. But it tends to be a crutch that they lean on. And you're not sure 100% sure if they really believe that, or if they figure that's the best way to get out of a major jail sentence or even the death sentence, depending on where you kill somebody. To be continued. I think I might have mentioned this last week, but I figured I may as well, after the Lemp Mansion story, I figured I'd bring this up. Tom Taylor is a comic book writer. He's from Australia. He has written a series of comics based on the DC Comics Injustice League like series, and so he's gotten a lot of rave reviews on that, and he's slowly starting to do other stuff. He wrote X-Men for a while, and a lot of people consider it to be some of the best X-Men stories they've read in a long time. And he signed on to write the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. His first story arc has just not been that exciting for me. I've not enjoyed it that much. And he is presently writing, it's not out yet, but it'll be out in a few months, for DC Comics, a event called Deceased, about zombies attacking the DC universe type of thing. So um, he went to a scary cabin in the woods for a weekend to write. He needed to get away, focus on his writing, and he figured he'd do this Airbnb, some sort of really nice little cabin in the woods, just to maybe get into the mindset, I guess, for the deceased story or anything other, like anything creator owned that he's doing that might be awful and terrible as well. And what follows was a stereotypical or cliched story that he couldn't believe he was actually talking about. This cabin in the woods had a bunch of creepy stuff happen to him while he was there, and he kept saying, I know this is cliche, I know this is stupid, but this is actually what's happening. And he videotaped stuff, took pictures, and just wrote tweet after tweet. This, you got to find this, right? It's Tom Taylor. Just go to his Twitter and find the thread, should be near the top, and just read the whole thing. This is actually really, really funny because he starts talking about everything that was happening to him during this and live. Sometimes he'd be tweeting this when it was happening to him, taking videos of the actual sounds he was hearing and pictures of the weird things that were happening. Now, the highlights of it were, first thing that was really getting him was there were wind chimes that were chiming. The fact that there was no wind that day, he was able to push off, like, well, something might have, still gusts still might happen, but it wasn't enough. They didn't think it was like dry. It wasn't anything out there. So he decided that it was kind of creepy. He didn't think much about it. So he went out on his porch to grab the wind chimes when he heard movement in the woods. Now, this is at night. So he heard movement out in the woods. And he didn't know what that was all about. So he's looking around and he's hearing, he goes, okay, I'm in the middle of the woods, probably a kangaroo or something. I'm just going to head back in here. And then he started hearing some other weird noises on his rooftop. So he tried taking pictures of the cabin to show everybody, hey, this is how creepy it is and stuff I'm hearing. When flashes of light and the sound in the woods started getting louder and flashes of light started appearing on his face, he's like, what the hell? And he goes over and he sees somebody in the woods with a big flash looking right at him, like a flashlight or something. And that freaked him out to no end. So he ran to the house and closed the door. He had taken the chimes and he just dropped them on the porch of this thing, went into the cabin and locked the door and was panicking a little bit. And then he got back to his sense, like it's probably a jogger or something, had one of those headlamps on. I was wondering why this guy was out in his underwear taking pictures of this house in the middle of the night. And it's like, it's nothing to worry about. So they started hearing more noises on the roof, like trumping and thumping and stuff like that, trying to get into the house. It's like, just animals or stuff like that. And then the wind chimes started again. He's like, how can the wind chimes be working? They're on the floor. So he actually went back out and grabbed them, make sure nothing was around there, grabbed them and brought them in the house in case there's something. And the chimes kept chiming. And then it kept getting weirder. And then like the next day, he discovered that someone had left a package on the porch. Now this is like a rental place. So who would be getting a package here? And no one had left a note or anything saying, or knocked on the door or whatever. The package was just sitting there. It's like, okay, that's freaking weird. So he does that and he goes into work and he starts hearing the chimes again and then some other stuff, some other noise. And then he heard someone walk onto his porch and hammer on his door. Now that freaked him out even more. It's the middle of the day this time. And he doesn't know who the hell is coming out to a rental cabin place. I read this for myself, by myself to be here. Who's coming to this cabin? So he goes to the door and is able to talk. The guy says, I'm here to fix the phone. The guy, and Tom Taylor's like, there's no phone here. And the guy's like, well, that's what I was told. I need to come in. So Taylor's like, all right, it's daytime. Nothing bad should go wrong with me. He opens the door. This guy comes in and starts fiddling around somewhere where there's no phone and then walks back out and leaves. Okay. Whatever. So the second night comes up, he starts hearing the noises on the roof again, and he videotapes that so you can actually hear the sounds on the roof. He starts hearing the chimes again. He tries opening he's hearing some weird noises. There's some door like that, and one of the door's knobs broke off. He doesn't understand this. They discover that the chimes are actually coming from the basement, that there's another set of chimes in the basement. He's like, I ain't going down there. I ain't no way I'm going down there. And then he heard some noise out in the bushes again. And this time he took pictures of that. And you can see a weird, distorted like figure out there. And he doesn't know what that's all about. Meanwhile, people are commenting on his pictures and his videos. They're saying, what's that in the corner? What's that? And he's like, are you freaking kidding me? Don't freak me out like that. And he looked at it like, oh, I see it now. What is that thing? All kinds of weird things just happening. So it was just it's a thread that you just have to read for yourself. It is a freaking amazing. And he could write a whole book just about that. So Tom Taylor, Tomtaylor. Look him up on Twitter. It's a great thread. He's back home now, so he's not going to be doing it anymore. But read the thread. It's well worth it. It's like 80-some tweets. So it's going to take you a little while, but it's really interesting. And then read the comments also, because they're just as funny, too. 35 years ago. Oh, well, I shouldn't say that. Let's start at the beginning. For 35 years, the coast of France, Brittany, and the coast of France, has been having weird things wash up on their shore. It was a Garfield phone. It was a regular old type of, where you spin the wheel type of phone. What is it? Radial phone. The one where you turn the knob instead of clicking buttons. It was a stuff like that. But they kept showing up in this shore, Brittany of France, and they don't know where these Garfield phones were coming from. They kept coming in the thousands for 35 years. Every day, new phones kept washing up on the beach, and nobody knew where they were coming from. Well, that's been solved. It was solved this week when they discovered a shipping crate in a sea cave that had all these phones in it. So they started backtracking stuff and discovered that 35 years ago, a boat off the shore of France in the middle of the night got caught in a storm, and one of these things fell over into the ocean and opened up or whatever, and then found the sea cave, and the current just kept dragging all these Garfield phones out of this big giant tanker, and they kept landing on the Brittany beach. So they discovered that. So I think they've cleaned that up. So you're probably not going to have that happen again. So good on that. I got to get moving because I only got about a half hour. I got a lot to get over. People don't become adults until they're in their 30s, aren't considered adults until they're the age of 30s. Last week, I discovered someone said that women turn into their mothers at the age of 33. And that's fair. I mean, when you're 20 to 30, you're not really an adult. I mean, some people are. Some people get married and have kids. My sister did that in their 20s. I didn't get married till I was 30, and I didn't have kids till I was 33. So technically I became an adult that way. But in the 20s, you're supposed to just use your 20s as a way to find yourself. You're no longer schooled. If you went to college, you're done college. You're now 21, so you can drink alcohol. You should be able to, you need to find a job, and you need to find a career and start working on things like that. And you can go out and you try to discover yourself, have as much sex as you want, fornicate as often as you want with all different types of women and men, and explore yourself, go drinking every night, party. You're still finding yourself, and you now have, as long as you have a job, you now have the disposable income to do that. Plus you get a chance to really live out on your own for a while, but you do not become an adult until you're in their 30s, because that's when you start thinking about marriage and kids and houses with mortgages. And then as you're getting older, your libido and your ability to, take on drinking and staying up late all night and then being able to work the next day without a problem and eating stuff is starts to disappear. So I can kind of see that. A new law allows pets to be buried with their humans at cemeteries. So if you want to be buried with your pet, you can now do that now, which is good. Utah legalizes sex outside of marriage after a governor signs a bill rolling back the 1973 fornication law. So in Utah, it's going to be okay to sleep with other women or sleep with other men, even though you're married. So do that what you will. Another proof that animals are starting to take over the world. A mouse was caught on video cleaning up an old man's garden shed every night. Now, this old man would be working his garden shed, old man meaning like in his 60s, 70s, would be working his garden shed, during the day, and he'd using all his tools and stuff like that. And he would leave them out because, you leave them out and you don't feel like putting them away. You just want to go back in the house. And then the next morning he would come back out like, oh man, I should probably clean this stuff up. He goes in there and everything's already cleaned up. It's like, how the heck is that happening? And it kept happening. So then he decided, I got to figure out what's going on. Is somebody coming into my, shed and cleaning up after me? What's going on? So he placed a video camera there. What he discovered surprised him. Turned out that it was a mouse. Now, I remember I told a story about there was a videotape of a mouse walking up to a fire alarm, pulling it down, and setting off fire alarm in a Washington hotel slash living area, whatever. Well, in this case, this mouse every night would come in and would put everything back in this basket. Now, animal people believe that the mouse probably like slept in the shed, or maybe even in the guy's tool shed or whatever, or the tool packet where he had all his tools. And when the mouse came in for the night to sleep and saw all the stuff, he said, why are they messing up my bed? So he put everything back so he'd go back to sleep, and then I guess he leaves early in the morning to go out hunting or whatever, and then doesn't come back till the evening. So that's kind of funny. But the video, I mean, it's like, that couldn't be really happening. Yes, it's not doctoring like that. This mouse was literally grabbing stuff with his mouth, his hands, and putting it back in this basket. It was phenomenal. A deserted 80-acre Irish island with old monasteries up for sale. I think that's a really great idea. I wish I would know how much that is. But there's nobody on it except a monastery, and so I don't know. And it's an island. I don't know if you could, what you would do with it, but still kind of need to own your own island, in Ireland of all places too. Dairy Queen has a new dreamsicle dipped cone for spring. You can get the ice cream cone. They usually have all kinds of dips that solidify on it. Well, now they have a creamsicle flavored one, which is orange vanilla flavored one. So just in time for spring. Disney World, Disneyland will ban smoking, large strollers, and ice cubes this year. I don't know why the ice cubes, but hey, they're banning everything else, smoking and large strollers, which is good. 20-year-old woman was left in a wheelchair for life after getting her nose pierced. Some sort of infection or disease spread to her and caused her to be crippled, so she couldn't walk again. So she has to live in a wheelchair now from now on. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, their live action movie, I'll talk about this now. Their live action movie came out this week 29 years ago. The animated show was big in that time also. Well, now they actually have a Shredder, who is the bad guy, I think. Cheese Shredder. So it has a little Shredder's head on there, and it's a cheese shredder. So it's kind of cute and clever. I think I talked about this earlier, but I'm going to talk about it again. You can stay in a covered wagon cabin outside of Yosemite. It looks like a covered wagon, but it's closed off, so it becomes like a door. But you can actually stay in the covered wagon if you want to live like the old-time frontier people. Whatever. It's another one. On this date, March 31st, 1999, 10 Things I Hate About You and The Matrix both came out in movie theaters. And that's 20 years ago. And both those movies are fantastic. I did not see either of them in the movie theaters because at that time I was like, I don't really want to see them. But I saw them on video, and they're my 10 Things I Hate About You is one of my favorite romantic comedies, and also a really good young adult film that in the 1990s also brought about, in the late 90s, 99 particularly, brought about American Pie and some other ones as well that were big at that time. My girl Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. were all big around that time. So 10 Things I Hate About You was quite different, but it was really, really good. And then you had The Matrix, which just blew everybody away. Nobody knew what they were expecting from this. Warner Brothers had no idea how it was going to come, so they didn't know how they were going to sell it. They sold it, and it made a ton of money. Well, news comes out this week on the 20th anniversary of Matrix that Sandra Bullock was originally approached to play Neo as a female Neo, I guess, and they were going to flip the script, I guess, on things like that. But I guess she said no, so they got her Speed co-star Keanu Reeves to do it instead. So, but you got to think in some alternate reality, there is a Matrix film where Sandra Bullock plays Neo, and I kind of want to see it. So, a job application leads the Florida police to a suspect in a cold case murder, and I guess they arrested him for it. So that's teach you a lesson. Don't sign up for jobs if you committed a crime in the past. The Caribbean's first floating taco and cocktail bar opens. So it's a floating one. You go in the pool or the lagoon or whatever, and you can go eat and drink while you're swimming. That's great. Mountain Dew to release Game of Thrones color-changing can. Now, Game of Thrones is coming up. Is it this month, I guess, is their final season? I've been telling you, Game of Thrones stuff has been rolling out week after week after week. You've got Oreos and Doritos and all that stuff. Well, I got a couple of Game of Thrones things here this week, including this Mountain Dew Game of Thrones color-changing can. Now, it's regular Mountain Dew in the can, but when you get the can and it's warm, it's just going to be a straight-up silver can. Nothing written on it, no Mountain Dew, no nothing, just a silver can. You put it in the refrigerator, and when you pull it out, the cold air activates the writing on the can, and it'll be a list of one of the characters' death list or whatever, all the characters that they've killed, their murder list during the show's tenure. So, hey, if you're a big fan of that, that might actually be a good collector's item to have. So, you know, that might be one to look forward to on that. Speaking of canned drinks, White Claw, which I guess is some sort of brewery thing, has released a vodka soda in a can as well. So there's something new for there. You can also solve a murder mystery on a wine tasting train in Napa Valley. It just sounds really cool. A Napa Valley wine tasting train to begin with. This sounds cool, but add a murder mystery to it. That's pretty neat, interesting as well. 5 new flavors of ranch based on some restaurant in New York. They are going to be releasing their flavors of ranch out into the world. The flavors include black pepper Parmesan ranch, which sounds really, really good. Cheesy smoked bacon, which is everybody's favorite at the restaurant, is going to be out also. Gouda infused buffalo ranch dressing, which would be good for when you have buffalo wings. Honey dipped wasabi and mango spiked habanero. So that'll help alleviate your taste for ranch. All right, so can I do this? 23 minutes, and I've got a page and a half stuff to go. Let's go. Peeps flavored coffee and donuts are going to be served at Dunkin' now. I talked about the Peeps coffee cream, which I found. I have it in my refrigerator right now. I haven't opened it yet because I still have some leftover Snickers. But this upcoming weekend, I'll be able to use that. And Dunkin's going to be using that for their coffee, and also they have Peeps donuts as well, which have Peep on the donut and some other stuff as well. Brides are ditching flowers for cotton candy. So instead of a bouquet of flowers, it's a bouquet of cotton candy again. I think I did that story as well, but I'll talk about that again as well. Here's another weird birth story. Woman gives birth to newborn twins, but a DNA test proves that one of the twins is completely different DNA, does not even match the DNA of the other twin. Somehow, this woman had 2 babies from 2 different fathers that were born at the same time and were fraternal twins. Don't know how that works. I can't even think about that. As we talked about, we're going to have synthetic alcohol, which won't give you a hangover, but it probably be still legal for you to drink and drive. Well, here's something you might want to try. A man tries to hide alcohol in his breath by spraying himself with Axe body spray, because Axe body spray is so overwhelming in the smell that if someone tried to smell alcohol in your breath, all you would smell would be the Axe body spray. In theory, it's a pretty good idea, but it's also very suspicious, so be forewarned. Oklahoma Arby's manager. Now, I love Arby's. I need to go to Arby's. It's been a while since I've been to Arby's. I love Arby's. Love me some Arby's. But this is an interesting story. Oklahoma Arby's manager allegedly chased down shot and killed a customer who threatened her, then returned to work. Just to show you don't threaten somebody at a restaurant. They'll hunt you down, they'll kill you, and then go back to work. Whew. A theme park covers bare-breasted mermaids with a golden crop top. I guess they felt that seeing mermaid breasts in statue form, and I don't think there were nipples or anything on it, but they just saw the bare breast. They thought that was just too bad, so they put gold crop top on it, and it looks pretty crappy. I'd rather see the titties, thank you. Game of Thrones Monopoly, my friend Jerry Fletcher, who's been on the show a few times, she is playing that right now, or maybe not right now, but she was playing it earlier today. And again, continues the whole Game of Thrones thing. Everybody's going Game of Thrones crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if in a few weeks Duncan says, we're going to have a Game of Thrones donut. If you do, you owe me some money. Is breakdancing going to become an Olympic sport in 2024? Well, it very possibly will, because it's on the list of potential new Olympic events in 2024. Breakdancing. I'm a Reese's guy. You all know that. This is intriguing, at least. Reese's decided they're going to try something different. They've created the Reese's Peanut Butter Lover and the Chocolate Lover Cups. So now the Reese's Peanut Butter Lover Cups is going to have the Reese's Peanut Butter that you get in the Reese's Peanut Butter Cups in the center. You're going to get the Reese's Peanut Butter as the top and the bottom with just a thin strand of chocolate in the middle. And then the reverse is going to happen with the Chocolate Lovers, where it's going to be a thin strand of peanut butter in the middle and just a lot of chocolate. So it'd be neat to see those, to try those. But the mix, what makes Reese's so good is the mix of the chocolate and peanut butter, the equal amounts of them that makes it work out. So we'll see. I've been the past year or so, I've been really interested in a lot of the different types of games that are out there, in Cards Against Humanity and Super Fight and Chrononauts and Flux and stuff like that. These are all kind of neat games. Well, there's a new one that I'm interested to look into to see if I can actually find it. It's called We're Doomed. It's the game of global panic, and it is a game that must be finished in 15 minutes or the world ends. So you have to figure out a way to stop the world from ending in 15 minutes, or else the world ends and everybody loses. Sounds like a fun little game, 15 minutes easy. We'll see what happens. Continuing the story about animals working together. A duck and a Malamute dog go everywhere together. They're pictured walking down the street together. They're friends forever. So, hey, that's really good. Again, but as animals seem to be working together and loving each other of different species, it's kind of interesting. Pokemon Adidas shoes. Every week it seems like I'm talking about another branding of shoes. Well, this week we have Pokemon is going to start having their own shoes. They're going to be doing Adidas shoes. There's also, I know it's around here somewhere, probably on the other page. This is the only time I'll do a follow-up with it. Oh, yeah, Pokemon is also launching products for babies. So, and that's actually kind of, you'd think that they would do that beforehand, because the Pokemonsters, the Pocket Monsters, would appear to appeal more to these, young children and babies, because they are cute and adorable. Some weird. Warrior Center. This is the Golden State Warriors, the basketball team. Warrior Center, Andrew Bogert or something like that, credits beer for his improved shape and play. So he's a athlete, and he started drinking more and more beer, and it's made him a better athlete, according to him. Never shower or do the dishes during a thunderstorm. I guess due to lightning. If the lightning hits your house and you're in the shower, it could send electricity through the water if you're doing the dishes or in your shower. So don't do anything with water if there's a thunderstorm outside. The Princess Bride will be getting its own musical. Again, I've been talking about how all these different movies are getting their own musicals. Well, Princess Bride actually makes a lot of sense. Sounds like a good idea for a musical, so can't wait to see it. Man breaks into people's homes and tickles their buttholes. Need I say more about that? That's just weird. Someone comes in and tickles your butthole. That's just weird. That's all he does. People are turning their cats into dinosaurs with dino cuts. Specific shaving of their animals gives them the appearance of dinosaurs. Again, kind of weird. Two breastfeeding stories. Breast milk is being sold to bodybuilders. I guess they feel it might have more nutrients and help them with building muscle more than regular milk. So, hey, why not? And also, there's now a breastfeeding device that allows men to breastfeed their babies. Basically, it's a fake set of breasts that the mother fills with her breast milk, and the dad wears the breast thing, which has a little nipple that the babies can suckle on, and they can hold the babies, and it's filled with, as I said, the mother's breast milk, and the babies can sit there and suckle on the breast milk, thinking they're getting their milk from their mom, because they're getting their mom's milk, but through a different type of device. An old woman drinks nothing but Pepsi for 60 years. That's quite impressive that she still looks as healthy as she does. A woman keeps a dummy of herself at her house to help her anxious dog. Sometimes the dog gets anxious when her owner's not in town, and it got to be so bad that she created her own dummy to keep the dog company, and the dog has calmed down because of that. A Florida man was arrested after trying to use a life-size hamster wheel to the Bahamas. Basically, it's one of those circular ball things that adults can get into, and you're supposed to do it around the ground and you bump into each other. Well, he tried to do this by putting in the water and then paddling all the way to the Bahamas that way. Interesting. Naked man tries to board a flight in Moscow to make the flight more aerodynamic. That doesn't make any sense, but whatever. Kraft Macaroni and Cheese has created unicorn macaroni and cheese. M&M's has created the hazelnut spread M&M's. So there's two things you can look forward to at your local stores. Shower heads now have got into the next level with lighted shower heads. So you put lights in your shower head. So when your shower comes, you turn the lights on, the water hitting your body becomes blues and reds and greens, and it's really kind of cool. Drag queen performs Baby Shark for a 2-year-old. So why not? Everyone loves the Baby Shark song. Well, all babies and kids do. Why not have a drag queen sing it to you for their birthday or party or whatever? Man spikes coworker's drink with LSD to change his negative energy. That's an awesome story. Because the guy had negative energy. He's like, let's give him a little bit of LSD to make him go, whoa, and expand his mind and be cooler and more calm. Fascinating. Keanu Reeves was on a flight with a bunch of people when the flight had to make an emergency landing, and it wasn't going to take off anytime soon. So Keanu was able to rent a bus and drive everybody back to Bakersfield, California, where they're supposed to go. So Keanu Reeves saved all these strangers' lives. Well, not saved them because they were landing, but was able to take them on a road trip back to their home out of the goodness of his own heart. Elderly couple is sued for blasting Iron Maiden too loud. It's great that, elderly couple, we're talking like 70, 80-year-old couple, still loves their Iron Maiden, and they're still banging their heads at that time. Japanese are giving away abandoned houses for free. I think I talked about that one before too. I think they'll get it for free, but I think you have to refurbish it in a specific way. A rare Viking ship has been found buried in Norway. So they're going to dig that up and get a little bit of historical checking it out there. Easter Island statues were placed where they were due to their proximity to fresh water, as scientists discovered this week. They thought they knew why they were placed there for specific reasons, but then they were surprised when they discovered that there were no Easter Island things placed at better locations. But in this case, they discovered, okay, it's close to fresh water, and there was not a lot of fresh water on the Easter Island when they were making these things. So I guess they need to have it so they could get their drink on. Scientists have forced supercrystals into existence. I mean, how do you force something into existence? That just seems really odd. And what exactly do supercrystals do? Didn't say, I don't know. White chocolate marshmallow M&Ms are also a thing. So you had your hazelnut spread M&Ms, and you're also going to have your white chocolate marshmallow M&Ms. Verizon worker sees a stranded cat on a telephone pole, rescues it, and 12 hours later gets suspended from his job, which is a bunch of BS. He helped a poor, scared animal while during working hours, sure, but you know what? You got to show a little kindness. The cat was scared to death, was on top there, could have died, and you suspend the guy that saved it. Weird. Here's another McDonald's story. Man's tongue is pierced by a nail after biting into McDonald's beef burger. So a nail was put into a beef burger. Guy bites into it, pierces his tongue. So you've got that McDonald's story. You've got the mouse in the milkshake. And here's another McDonald's story for you, but this is a good one. McDonald's is giving away a couch which has a built-in McFlurry cooler. So you've got, nails being put in food and rats, or rather mice, in milkshakes. But hey, you can also buy a couch, or we're giving away a couch that has a McFlurry cooler in it as well. I did that one already. Glow-in-the-dark bike paths charged by the sun in Poland. So you can drive at night on bike paths, and they're lit up pretty brightly too. Brother puts pics of Pennywise the clown in his sister's engagement pictures. The sister said, "Can you take pictures of our engagement pictures?" Sure, why not? And then he decided, I'm going to play a little trick on my sister, and started placing Pennywise all over the pictures, which is kind of funny, actually. I've been talking about all kinds of summer floats and stuff like that. Well, there's a pet pool float now available at Walmart, so your pet can hang out in the pool with you. Penis cleaner is the newest thing now, where you can spray your penis clean. I guess it's a way to freshen it up or whatever, keep it clean, moist. I don't know. Interesting. Puppy dusting slippers. I've been talking about all kinds of slippers also. Well, now these are ones that actually clean the house. You put them on and they start tracking you. They, instead of tracking in dust, they pick up dust. So that's actually kind of a neat idea. There's a talking Chewbacca Coke Zero can. I don't know if that was something that's coming up due to the Star Wars films coming up, or if it was something that already came out. But I guess when you open it up, it makes the Chewbacca noise. That's kind of interesting. This is kind of a sad story, and actually I saw something similar on one of my friends' pages today. An owner lets his cat say goodbye to his other cat who is going to be put to sleep because he's dying. And it's just, the cat knows that something's wrong with his friend, and has one last chance to say goodbye, which is very heartbreaking. A friend of mine on Facebook had the same thing happen with his dogs. Had the dog take one last look at the one dog they had to put to sleep soon. Gwyneth Paltrow has created a leather lingerie line, but it's like for, a leather leather bondage lingerie line. So that's kind of sexy. That can be kind of sexy too. Unlike denim panties, you have a leather bondage lingerie. So go for it, man. Hey, I like Sunstone. I've read that. Fully immersed real life interactive Monopoly game is coming overseas. They're creating it, and it's also going to become a murder mystery. So we'll see if that makes its way over to America. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that. House that you could have ordered from the Sears catalog in the I guess apparently houses were ordered through the Sears catalog in the 1920s. Well, one that was ordered through the Sears catalog is still standing. It's abandoned, but it's still standing. Finally, this is more of a personal note, kind of like how a small world type of thing it is. A friend of mine from college, well, not really a friend of mine, but more like a friend of my ex-girlfriend's, who I had been friends with on Facebook for a while, but then when we first left college, when Facebook first started happening, and then she dropped out for a while, I don't know why, and then she sent me a friend request recently. So I went to her page. I said, "Sure, I remember you." And so I went and I said, accepted the friendship, and then I went to her page to check it out, see what was new with her life, and I discovered a picture of my friend Jerry Fletcher as one of her friends. So I think that's the reason why she came back, because when I first joined Facebook, I didn't know Jerry. Randy, I can't say who it is, sorry. This person might not have known Jerry either at the time, but she did eventually. And now they're friends, and I think that's how that happened. And the same thing sort of happened where a friend of mine from the Pokemon group, I was friends with them. I commented on one of their things, and also a woman I went to high school with commented also, how do you know this person? They work together. And I said, I know her from Pokemon, and I knew her from high school. So that's kind of cool. I'm not going to do Check ID because it's almost 11 o'clock and I got to go to the bathroom. So real quick, Roller Coaster Tycoon is 20 years old this week as well. 30 years old, 3 years ago this week, Quantum Leap came out. Beetlejuice is 31 years old this week. The Colts left Baltimore 35 years ago this week as well. And 14 years ago this week, Doctor Who returned. All right, you all have a good end of the quarter. April begins tomorrow. I will see you next week, and I gotta go pay.